absolutely is. Going to be jumping into our second matchup here, keeping the party rolling. It is going to be Nanthelas versus brskaylor, is it? Or was there a
I think
pronunciation I missed?
brskaylor. brskaylor.
brskaylor. Kaylor or Scalar?
Kaylor. Kaylor for short, if they say if you want, but apparently they're very understanding about it. So go ahead and pick your poison.
I think I'll probably stick with brskaylor because I want to be a adventurous caster here, wanting track and try all the different names out.
Well, if you want to be adventurous, we should have found a way to cast Giatti, or however you say it. But yes, yeah, the next best thing.
I'll have to play Giatti, or however you say it, in my next game. Looking forward to that. Definitely not going to pronounce it correctly, that's for sure. Group B has some pretty cool characters in it. Obviously, we have Nanthelas here and brskaylor, also featuring the likes of Artoriax and Iggy the Grifter. So you have two challengers and two bronze players stuffed into one group here. This is going to be a bronze versus challenger matchup.
Yeah, Nanthelas obviously sitting at the top of bronze as we speak. Artoriax kind of around the middle of the pack, but certainly was a force to be reckoned with at times. Definitely spoiler to some people down the stretch. It should be a nice little grouping. I would not count the challengers out, but Nan looks like maybe an early favorite.
I would definitely think so. With Nan taking the regular season in bronze, coming first in that, I believe it was, that puts him in a pretty strong position as one of the top competitors really coming into this Summer Cup this year.
Yeah, 8-1-1. So not just first, but first by a full 4 points. Very dominant performance.
Very, very dominant. Let's jump over to Ballroom to kick things off as soon as I finish setting things up, because actually, as a caster and a host, I have far more responsibilities than I potentially anticipated.
Pulling double duty. Yeah, to bring you all these matches. I hope you're grateful, everyone. This is a lot of work. and not only that, the designer of that lovely digital trophy you're looking at on your screen right now.
Lovely is questionable. It is definitely a thing, is what it is.
It is technically a picture of a trophy.
It has gone through many design phases, that's for sure. But let's get it underway. Just a quick reminder for anyone joining us halfway through that broadcast. Welcome. This is the Summer Cup. It is a SpyParty tournament, which kind of mimics the World Cup in format. We have 32 competitors playing in 8 different groups, very much like the FIFA World Cup, which just passed with France winning. And we're currently in the first round of our group matches. Nanthelas and brskaylor from Group B. In the Summer Cup, you don't get to draft your maps. You all play the same maps during the different stages of the tournament. So group stages is 1 round of Ballroom, 1 round of Courtyard, 1 round of Library, into 1 round of Pub. And you play all 8 of your games, and the person who has the highest score at the end of the games wins.
Yep, it's a good mix. I like the, as I mentioned, the contrast it provides to SCL. I like that the people know the maps in advance. There's less obviously strategizing about the maps, but there's more planning for those maps. So you get to see a different side of the strategy and preparation.
All right, I've got everything loaded up here. If you're ready to go, warning track, we'll count it in. It's brskaylor, spying as Bling Twin in 3, 2, 1, playing it. AI controlling for a very long time, considering we've just arrived at a window pad.
Yeah, and considering the ST was standing there all alone in a conversation, perfect for that early flirt.
Many Spy players will know the combination selected, potentially randomized, or selected. It is, of course, the twincest combination here, where your seduction target is your other twin.
We try not to talk about that, but yeah, hard not to notice sometimes. Hopefully random.
Hopefully random. brskaylor deciding to not go for the fingerprint. Side statues for an inspect here. Picks up the first highlight of the game.
Yeah, just standard statue highlight. It might be boring to some, but there's a reason it's so common. It really helps keep track of mission progress on a map like Ballroom.
23% flirt. 2 out of our 3 inspects, making a path to start up a second flirt here. Nice and cozy, so this will be a good one.
Yeah, I guess being all alone in that conversation circle right in the middle of ballroom early on, brskaylor didn't want to give Nan a chance to pair the flirt, stood farther away, but this time, a little more activity, doesn't mind going right next to them.
There's the flirt. Green test. 74% puts us in a very fine position to make this a 3 flirt. Now
and
we have to figure out where we want to go, warning track. Inspects and seduce are very standard in most spy games, but where are we going to spice things up?
Well, so this is going to seem like a tiny little detail, but I always like to see whether or not when someone goes to side statue to start, do they go to side statue again, or do they deliberately go to center statue because it seems a little less suspicious, or are they worried the sniper's not going to remember that? But I am very surprised to see brskaylor leave there halfway through a timer flirt, basically.
We are going to pick up a contact here. Relatively good one. 1-2 highlights knocked down to lowlights with an extra lowlight on top. But there is also highlights in our conversation with the double agent. And the double agent leaves, potentially meaning that Nanthelas doesn't know that we've collected the contact here.
Yeah, that's underrated. If the double agent leaves shortly afterwards, it's very easy for the sniper, even if they're on top of things, to not be positive about whether or not it took or who was in the conversation. They'll get their lowlights, potentially, but at what cost?
Looking for a flirt here. From the opposite side of the conversation, it needs to be a green, and it's not, which means that we are locked into a 4 flirt position. Wow, look at that. Nanthelas, relatively confident that this could be GG's, takes the shot.
Very surprising. I'm really not sure what they could have suspected there. I mean, I do see the AMBA kind of path around brskaylor right around a minute, but I just don't see how a bug could have taken. There's no evidence of it. I don't know if it's aggressive or good, frankly, but I will say that, brskaylor goes to all that trouble to avoid the flirt pairing and still gets caught for a 94% flirt. That's got to feel a little weird. You mentioned taking a shot earlier for etiquette to sort of strike fear into the heart of your opponent. If you're brskaylor, you're thinking, I went to all this trouble not to get flirt paired, and I still got shot for talking.
There were a couple moments where brskaylor did break etiquette, arriving at the statues and not insta-sipping, arriving into the conversation with the double agent and insta-sipping instead of waiting out your first animation cycle. If Nanthelas is looking to potentially upgrade his sniping style, put some more tricks in the bag, then Summer Cup seems like a good place to do it, and maybe that's what's happened here.
If it has, then brskaylor is going to be in big, big trouble because Nanthelas already an exceptional player and maybe the early favorite out of this group. If they are doing that as well, look out, everybody.
Well, it is going to be Nanthelas' turn to spy here on Ballroom. Going to be playing Pearls for us. Let's see what kind of tricks he has learnt. In 3, 2, 1, playing it. I was going to make a joke about can't teach old dogs new tricks, but clearly Nanthelas is learning them all.
Yes, yeah, picking it up very quickly. Old character, though, that's about it.
2 old characters at statues here, Pearls and Kane, both holding that lovely Venus statue, and we're both going to pick up highlights for our troubles. It's just a single inspect and a single cycle here for Nanthelas.
Now the question is, are those highlights just rote statue highlights, or is that, wow, I really think one of them was flirting, that's weird how close together they're standing?
51% on the flirt, though, means that we maybe just knock out a 2 flirt with another green test really close. Fortunately, it is going to be a white, popping us up to 85%, but now any flirt from any distance will finish the job.
It's pretty quick, and having already got the inspect done, this is obviously very solid progress from Nan.
Oh wow, we're going for a purloin right under the sniper's camera. But as it happens, brskaylor rotates round to mark some books. Potentially we've missed it. Watching the camera of brskaylor, there's no indication that he's noticed the purloin has happened here, and Nanthelas is just holding on to that drink, doesn't want to bring any more attention to himself.
Well, visible on screen a couple of times, but we just don't know where those eyes are. There's a lot going on elsewhere, as you mentioned. 2 people at books and the ambassador in a different conversation entirely. And here's the thing, if you don't catch it relatively quick, oh, there's a zoom, they definitely know now.
Yeah.
If you don't catch it relatively quick, can you even use any information about it? You might just have to take the loss.
Wow. Or take a very aggressive shot onto someone that you feel potentially could be the spy. It is a wrong shot onto Taft here, putting Nanthelas up 2-0 in this series. Let's see where Taft kind of got involved at any point.
Yeah, Taft was at the side statue, I think, around the time it happened, shortly afterwards at least. I think what's going on there is brskaylor is thinking, I'm up against a very good player. I've missed the purloin completely, so I have to take a Hail Mary shot. The Hail Mary shot is, what do spies like to do? They like to rush to statues before a purloin goes off, right? I couldn't have done it. I'm at statues. Maybe I'll get a low light. It's a very common spy thing to do. It's common even though people know it's common because it's so potentially effective. So maybe I think Kaylor is sitting there saying, I really didn't catch this at all. What would a spy do here? I might as well take a low percentage shot.
I think it's fair enough. On ballroom, it's very easy to let the game go, get away from you. But however, there was no contact yet. There's always room to wait. Maybe this bites Kaylor in this series as we develop over to courtyard, spying as Till in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, I think I would wait for the banana bread too, but still an understandable shot, and probably not a game that brskaylor was going to come back from regardless.
AI controls us over to statues. We are going to pick it up after the AI makes the action for us, making sure that we get these in specs since we happen to come here. Putting the statue back. No swaps early. Nanthelas was on top of the statues, did get a good look.
Sometimes the AI dumps you at statues and you just have to go with it.
Going to be picking up the briefcase here. Obviously return it over to the ambassador. However, the ambassador does rotate around the statue as we go for it, meaning that brskaylor committing to a trip that was potentially longer than anticipated, getting caught on the pot plant as well. Now we're looking to try and pick up a flirt onto our seduction target at statues.
I kind of like this. You get the flirt in, and you obviously go for a second statue visit, and to the same set of statues.
And a swap pending now, as brskaylor decides, all right, I'm here. Might as well put the hardtail out there. Here comes Irish to that statue pad to swap it, and another AI as well. Oh boy, 2 of them. Let's see how Nanthelas reacts to 2 AIs rocking up at a statue. Statue fade happens. Nanthelas looks for the shot onto Till, going to be very confident.
Yeah, it's actually kind of surprising. For a while there, Nanthelas was rotating, and it looked like they weren't going to get a good look at the fade, so it was going to be down to at least 50-50. And in that scenario, you can win those games, let's say about half the time, potentially, if the AI is even remotely accommodating. But things cleared up just before, and Nanthelas, nonetheless, saw the fade just in time and reacted very, very quickly. Don't like the decision to swap there. I did like the decision to go back to the same statues you already inspected at to get the flirt in. It's a way to reduce a little of that early heat that the AI gave you dumping you there, especially with one fingerprint done, but just a little impulsive, I think.
One of those things that Nanthelas was very confident on the fade. Potentially, it could have turned into a 50-50 game if he wasn't to have seen it. Either way, Nanthelas is up 3-0, spying on courtyard as Orange Dress. Let's see what he has in store in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And to be perfectly honest, none of these games have felt particularly close yet.
Bug. Straight off the start, Nanthelas rotates into the statues, curling around to try and hide it. He's going to pick up a highlight, and you have to assume that highlight is a mixed bag of inspects and potential bug.
It was a really good bug. I was basically looking for it on my end and barely saw it, I think.
Let's see how suspicious brskaylor is of it. Inspects have been done. Briefcase right next to us. Nanthelas isn't going to rotate, pick it up. Instead, wanted to join the conversation with his seduction target, but it was too full. Now has an opportunity to take Taft's spot here and look for our first flirt.
Worth noting, by the way, at the end of those inspects, Nanthelas did briefly start another animation cycle for just a fraction of a second, but doesn't seem to have been caught for it.
That's our first flirt, 27%. We've already got our hardtail out of the way here. Afraid to say it, warning track, but cue the soundtrack of Courtyard.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this is probably going to be it here. And by the way, I mentioned that statue break thing because if he was particularly suspicious of the bug, much more likely he notices that. The fact that he didn't makes me think that he hasn't, and that Nanthelas just has to get a couple flirts in here and a decent banana bread to win this game.
Whilst we watch Nanthelas time a flirt here, picking up his second, a green test, 69% Hugh. Might as well talk a bit about the Summer Cup prize format. What was that? Sorry, prize format. Yes.
Yes.
There's going to be prizes for Summer Cup. Poggers, first place taking home $100, second place 50, third place I believe was 30, and I want to say 20 for
I think you're right. Yes.
fourth place.
Yeah.
Clearly, I did my research here and have the numbers jotted down.
Well, it's hard to memorize such large numbers. No. But it's, honestly, it's a really exciting development that people were willing to so generously give of their own money to promote this for this game. This is all community run. Really a remarkable thing.
Wow, okay, so apparently that bug was 100% clean because as the contact comes out, brskaylor decides to shoot our twin here, plane twin.
Banana bread.
Does kind of look like he's started up an animation around the time that the contact happens. Rotating around, had a fingerprint as well.
It's a little desperate, though. So we understand the previous shot. The purloin is there. It leaves a visible trace. You know you're behind. You have to take a difficult shot. Makes sense. In this case, the hardtail was done again, but it was a bug. There was no trace. So a statue hasn't been swapped. The guest list is still there. So, what are you shooting for potentially? Obviously, I think just Kaylor, it's interesting. In a way, it's almost a compliment. Detecting that they're behind and taking another aggressive shot. It's just in this case, you wonder why they thought they were, because there's no visible evidence of a hardtail being done.
Well, the one thing that does happen is that Plane Twin inspects statues. The statue just next to the one that the ambassador was at the beginning of the game, which could have been enough for Kaylor to believe that a fingerprint had occurred then. And then as he exits, picks up another fingerprint, potentially in the mind of brskaylor, and then the contact happens pretty much soon after he enters the conversation with a suspected double agent and during the first talk animation as well. So, I mean, when you start creating stories in your head for why this person could be the spy, it really does add up.
It absolutely does, and as bad as it feels to shoot a civilian on a map like Courtyard in particular, it probably feels a little better to look at the log and realize, well, the game was about to end regardless, so it definitely didn't cost me the game. Nothing feels worse than taking that kind of shot, seeing the mission results screen pop up, and seeing basically 0 to 1 missions done with the character having no hope of finishing.
Well, we're jumping over to library here. Going to be playing some Seek. Let's see if brskaylor can pull the wool over Nanthelas' eyes. In 3, 2, 1, playing it. There's going to be a map that you do it on. Library always feels like the one.
Yeah, Toboshi likes to describe it as the spy's playground. It's probably the best description I've heard.
Straight over to bookshelves here. Going to start up a microfilm. It's a white test. Let's see if Nanthelas swings over. No, he doesn't. Perfect. Completely clean.
Yeah, completely. Just too much movement still in the early going. Could not afford to look at any one thing.
Thankfully for brskaylor, but potentially by design, it was the yellow bookshelf that we ended up at. The ambassador over near the blue one, and Toby was serving drinks towards green, so it makes a lot of sense if you're going to do a microfilm, you do it over at yellow. We haven't flirted yet. Really respecting conversation etiquette, and oh dear. Just as we go for a contact, everyone jumps out of the conversation.
That's really rough. There were 3 statue visitors all at the same set early in this game. Boom, 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 highlight, highlight, highlight. All 3 of them out for that bit banana bread.
That was a fake BB though, and it is an attempt at a green purloin as it happens as well. Oh boy, brskaylor, he's been a bit tricky here. To side statues we go. And this is the purloin bouncing as we speak. 2 rejects, both Kane and Cowboy, a highlight at that. And now a low light is going to take the guest list. This is good news for us. Guest list purloined.
Cowboy also rejected about as quick as you're going to see an AI reject. I think that might have been a second and a half.
Whenever it was on the screen for Nanthelas. Highlight over towards Kane. How many more of these rejects are you sure of, Nanthelas? Doesn't feel like we're low-lighting anyone, just highlighting and watching for more information.
By the way, Teal, just as the purloin was being noticed, Teal approached statues with a drink and finished it.
Now we'll pick up the highlight for finishing at statues. Nanthelas really just playing from behind here. We have so many highlights to our name. Here comes a real contact of the double agent.
Banana bread.
Banana bread said. Couple of lowlights available to us. And we're going to go for a shot. Ooh, it did feel like it.
It felt like he was lining it up, or at least making sure he was there. Unfortunately, Cowboy, who might be the best person to frame here, was across from a non-SDA, only one other person in the conversation on the far side, so not going to work for those purposes very well.
Feel like you might be in a bit of state of panic here, considering the fact that we're not really taking all of the lowlights available to us.
Yeah, and whipping that camera around, clearly trying to decide whether or not they could be done.
Green bookshelf, brskaylor, gulping the drink, looking to finish the transfer of the microphone. Oh no, we're not. We decide against it, look for a bug. Oh, it's right under sniper cam. Nanthelas setting up the shot, and he will take it onto brskaylor.
That is particularly rough. I think this is one of those situations where brskaylor thinks they need to do something aggressive to finish, but they probably don't. It's really hard to imagine, based on camera movement alone, and certainly game circumstance, hard to imagine that Nanthelas is not going to shoot someone there, and that it could easily be a civilian. Just missed a little too much. Like you said, panic. You could see the panic in the movement there.
brskaylor breaks etiquette right when the sniper's watching and really just hands that one over back to Nanthelas. There was a moment where you thought this might be the first spy win for brskaylor. Maybe we get the first sniper win. Nanthelas, not going to make things easy on us though, is playing small man. Let's find out if brskaylor is savvy. 3, 2, 1, playing it.
One of the heartbreaking things about libraries compared to other maps, you can get so much done. You can get away with multiple hardtails sometimes and then still lose the game. It's a very strange feeling.
Woo, woo. There's 3 at bookshelves, but Nanthelas is going to run away with that blue book. He doesn't want to be seen there.
And I don't think he was.
Let's see how this party does develop. I'm watching the log right now to see if we're marking books as people are at bookshelves. It doesn't look like it. Another big wee-oo on sniper cam, but I don't think this is something that brskaylor cares particularly about. And as most of us know, it is more of a meme than a strategy. However, Checker did confirm it by highlighting for 3 at bookshelves on gallery against, I believe it was turnout 8. So, I mean, if Checker does it, I'm doing it.
The man who wrote the code himself. What's he know that we don't?
Nanthelas, chucking that blue book into the green bookshelf, is going to pick up his first mission of transfer microfilm, attempting a bug, and it connects. And now we're joining the conversation with our seduction target, and the sniper camera rotates away. A highlight does pop. I guess we are suspicious of the potential.
Yeah, I mean, a little visible, but that's the thing about Smallman, is even if you're looking right at it, if it's a decent bug, it can be very hard to be sure you saw it, but that highlight probably very significant.
51% bug and transfer completed. Is the opportunity to go for fingerprints here, and then we don't even have to visit statues. A contact, a flirt, and fingerprint would have us done.
I think that's the way to go. I think at this point there's enough suspicion. Obviously, it helps to have already had another hardtail done before that bug highlight, but I think at this point I would much rather banana bread rather than, say, center statue, or let alone try to go twice.
Got 2 minutes on the clock. Nanthelas going to be picking up a briefcase with a difficult fingerprint on it, looking for the green test, but it fails, hits the red. So that's the second time Nanthelas has headed over to a briefcase. Once the AI stole it, the second time we get a failed difficult print.
Yeah, and it's very tricky because, in particular, it's going to be much harder for the sniper to be sure whether or not that was a difficult. So sometimes you can be credited for a print you didn't get. Although, worth noting, brskaylor did lowlight Hare, who picked it up next. So at least on it enough to think that this person maybe is wasting their time, and happy to take a lowlight for, if not a non-fingerprintable briefcase, at least a difficult.
One thing that brskaylor is doing, actually, is lowlighting anyone who picks up that briefcase that doesn't have a fingerprint on it anymore. There was a lowlight over to Red Dress when she picked it up after Small Man. And so that's something to keep in mind, is that it does seem like brskaylor potentially looking for some baby behaviorism lowlights here.
Big moment here.
Purloin. Sniper cam rotates over as the fade is seen. That's going to be the shot. Nanthelas gets taken on down. brskaylor picking up his first point in the series.
I don't like the decision to purloin there. I might have been in trouble regardless, especially given how quickly brskaylor was willing to take that shot. Didn't even wait for a gulp confirmation. I guess we're late enough in the game that they're not confident that maybe they're not done, certainly. But I think you really just got to boil it down to the bug. It's a good bug, but Kaylor looking for it and probably just sitting on things after that.
It was the rotate away which had me thinking, did he see it? Then he comes back and pops the highlight straight afterwards. So yeah, I think he was on top of the bug. And from that point onwards, it was just a case of watching for it. Good job.
I'm inclined to give him a little bit of credit and say that he specifically wanted to delay the highlight so that Nanthelas didn't have an impression of how suspicious it was. After a bug like that, it really can go either way. And if you see the laser go over you right afterwards, you know.
All right. Well, we're heading over to pub to finish off this series. 2 more rounds to go. brskaylor is playing queen here. Maybe he can pick up a spy win to really spice things up. Let's find out in 3, 2, 1, playing it. AI controlling, as brskaylor has done in all the series. We end up at statues to begin it off. Gonna go straight for an inspect here. And we pick up the first highlight as well. I mean, if there was a competition for first highlight, that would be pretty good. Ooh, a red swap.
My.
A slam down on the ground. Nanthelas checking the statue. Oh dear. He highlights the double agent. Okay. I don't think he knows.
It's so early that you can easily talk first of all, you might not have even bothered to memorize because it's so counterintuitive. You also might talk yourself into thinking you mismemorized. Swaps are so counterintuitive on pub. This is probably the map where there's the single hardest to get away with on. And yet it happened right away.
The best bit about it was the low light onto Alice the double agent as it happens. It was like,
yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I haven't low lit this one yet.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure she didn't swap. Yeah, I think it might have been just counterintuitive enough to work. Obviously, the red test doesn't help, but on the other hand, it was completely obscured behind the pillar. In most scenarios, a red test is the same as a white.
Reverse drive-by bug, BRS.
Beautiful.
We have got 2 hardtails on pub as queen. Now all we need to do is contact the double agent, and this is a GG.
I didn't see a thing. And even if Nan were waiting for some kind of confirmation after a suspected swap, and I think at this point we have to conclude at most it's a, was that a rush swap? I'm not really sure. I just don't see how they're going to shoot here.
Green contact of the double agent. As we arrive into the conversation, I don't see the shot coming through. Neither does Nanthelas. brskaylor, a beautiful spy win on pub.
That's incredible. I really think they got away with both of them completely queen rather. That bug was a thing of beauty.
Let's watch that
from
back.
the angle. There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. There's Cowboy is sort of obscuring it first of all, and it's mainly the angle. Nan is at the wrong angle for it.
Oh my god, it's actually invisible. Watching that from the spy point of view, so we can actually see that the bug happens. And what is that? Does it start with the? Oh yeah, it goes straight into Cowboy. Completely envelopes the bug arm. There was nothing. Yeah. Nothing on the sniper cam to see.
Right. So that's what happens if at that angle in particular. And I don't blame Nan for being at that angle. It's a good general angle. Literally the only thing you're going to miss by not being more to the right is that. And how can you plan for that? Especially when the ambassador is the one that comes to the spy rather than the other way around. Just great opportunism.
And there's just a slight moment where you see the hand creep through the character model of Cowboy, and just not many people are going to see it, especially from this angle here. Really great opportunism, as you say. brskaylor picking up a spy win on pub. Obviously, the series at 5-2 is in favor of Nanthelas, but maybe we can close the gap and get those much-needed point differential on our sniper round.
Yeah, big game here. I don't, obviously, brskaylor only with the second win, but if you're looking for moral victories, that would definitely count.
Definitely could come back to aid you as well later into the group stages if tiebreakers were to happen. A sniper win here really helps brskaylor. Let's see if you can find it. Nanthelas playing boots. 3, 2, 1, playing it.
You mentioned that hand going through the character. Keep in mind, too, Queen with a particularly suspicious idle animation, too. Maybe a little easier to discount if you are up on them.
Nanthelas going to add time right at the beginning, a green test here. And we got a flirt at windows as well, 34%. There's enough noise that potentially there is no real way to spot this happening.
Yeah, 3 at windows, obviously just, again, opportunism there. I think, though, last to arrive and first to leave, which you'll see a lot with time ads.
Nanthelas heads straight on over to the other window pad, picks up the briefcase, pops it down, quick fingerprint. You can argue the mechanics of the briefcase and whether or not that was a legal briefcase return, but I think what we've got here is potentially Nanthelas trying to hide the fact that he gets a fingerprint.
I think so, yeah. And I actually like that a lot. People, snipers are getting particularly good at incorporating fingerprint tracking into their games, into like basic camping and things like that, kind of melding the two. So it actually gets to the point where if you can obscure one of your 2 fingerprints with some kind of distraction, even a banana bread sometimes, it can actually win you the game.
Second flirt, 61% here. Nanthelas from the other side of the conversation. The briefcase does not have a fingerprint on it due to the fact that we didn't return it. Cowboy wasn't able to return it either. Now we've got General picking it up and heading on over towards the Ambassador to try and return it. However, he's going to pop it down. So now we've lost out on a potential way to get a fingerprint for a little while.
Yeah, definitely going to limit the options a little bit, but still pretty decent progress. Even without that time ad, they'd be in a decent position here.
There's a highlight for statue goers. I think we've got 3 of them so far in this game. Briefcase continues to get placed onto the ground. Nanthelas, not going to wait around, goes to statues to pick up our inspect.
I think that's the right play. Yeah, so sometimes you decide, I want to flirt, I want a fingerprint, I want a whatever. And if the party doesn't give it to you after about 20 seconds, you say, you know what? I've seen this before. I can't wait around forever. Got to get something done.
Nanthelas didn't pick up a highlight for that statue visit, which is a little bit strange. brskaylor has been giving them to everyone. Here comes the contact as the ambassador is right next to us. How suspicious are we of that contact is the question. The ambassador was near us. brskaylor did rotate down to try and protect against the bug. Oh, bye. Yep. We are very suspicious. brskaylor potentially believing a bug had occurred as well.
Well, if you look at that banana bread, it's brutal. The SDA was inside the bar, so even though there's a relatively full conversation on the other side of the map, literally only 2 characters, one of them Nanthelas, could have done a real BB there.
Nanthelas obviously having a fingerprint, an inspect, and flirt was pretty good. If there was a potential bug to boot, then makes a lot of sense to take that shot. Really good stuff from brskaylor here. A very determined shot, one with a lot of, you know, what is the word I'm looking for here? Warning track.
I don't know, but you said potential bug to boot, and given that it was boots, very appropriate.
I like that. That's all that matters. So with that, Nanthelas takes the series 5-3. Really good comeback, really, from brskaylor, who wins 3 on a trot, I believe, to bring us back to a very competitive scoreline here in the Summer Cup. We're heading over to our third match